This is Wallet Brief, where we break down what actually moved the U.S. economy this week, without the noise. If prices, interest rates, jobs, housing, or taxes are quietly changing your money, this is where you stay informed. Let's get into what really happened this week, and what it means for your wallet. Over the past year, inflation has remained one of the most important economic issues facing households across the United States. Rising costs for essentials such as groceries, housing, and energy pushed many families to rethink their monthly budgets and spending habits. In the months leading up to this week, inflation had been gradually cooling compared to the sharp price spike seen earlier in the decade. However, the decline has been uneven. Some categories like goods and electronics showed clearer price stabilization, while services such as housing and insurance continued to experience upward pressure. This mixed pattern has kept economists and policymakers closely watching new data releases, especially as the Federal Reserve evaluates how price stability is evolving. This week brought fresh signals from recent economic reports and market indicators that suggest inflation pressures may be continuing to ease, though slowly. Energy prices remained relatively stable in many regions, and several consumer goods categories showed smaller price increases than earlier in the year. At the same time, service-related costs, including housing and insurance, remain one of the key drivers keeping overall inflation above long-term targets. When looking at the broader trend, the signal is cautiously positive but still incomplete. Inflation is no longer accelerating the way it did during earlier periods, but the path back toward normal price stability is proving gradual rather than immediate. For households, this means that while the pace of price increases may be slowing, everyday expenses are still higher than they were a few years ago. Grocery bills, insurance payments, and housing costs continue to shape monthly budgets for many families. Some consumers are responding by adjusting spending habits, focusing more on essential purchases, and building financial cushions when possible. Financial planners often emphasize that periods of moderating inflation can provide opportunities for households to regain control of budgeting and saving strategies. Looking ahead to next week, several important signals will help clarify the direction of inflation. Analysts will be watching updates from retail spending data, energy markets, and additional economic reports that influence inflation expectations. These indicators will show whether the cooling trend continues or if new price pressures begin to emerge. For now, the overall picture suggests that inflation is slowly stabilizing, but the full return to comfortable price levels may take time. That's your wallet brief for this week. These changes don't always make headlines, but they do change how much you pay, save, and earn. We'll be back next week with the updates that matter. Until then, stay informed and protect your wallet.